Roadblock into the line. And I am, of course, the one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D. And yep, it was the end of the line, alright. But before we get to business, is that I do have a question. Why was this even called Roadblock into the line? Because if you remember your history, the reason why the pay-per-view was called Roadblock last year was because it came after Fastlane, but before WrestleMania, where it made sense to call it Roadblock. There's technically no road yet because the Royal Rumble hasn't happened, so I don't really get it. They could have renamed that something else, still had it a Raw branded pay-per-view, or whatever the case is, or maybe, but I just figured I had to say that before we got started. So, let's get started. As usual, I have the results in front of me because no one watches the pre-show, and this is one of those times where I'm really glad I didn't, because Rusev beat Big Cass by countout, and I'm just figuring out, like, the hows and the whys of why they're even fighting in the first place, because the whole storyline with Enzo trying to get with Lana was weird, and the way it's breaking down, and I'm like, given what happens later in the night, is that I'm trying to sit up here and figure out, like, what's up with Enzo and Cass when it comes to the tag picture, because as we are about to get into the tag team title match, is you really have to wonder what the state of the division is, because if we just gonna hop right into it, let's just hop right into it. Cesaro and Sheamus beat the New Day. So this was kind of the no-duh after Monday, because the New Day has served their purpose. Whether they get another run at the titles, or whether they finally split the New Day up, or whatever it is they're going to do with the New Day, because they have served their purpose for breaking records, because WWE is fetishly into that type of shit, is what is the makeup of the tag team division as of right now? Because New Day get their rematch, so you have to kind of wonder, like, what's actually going to happen there. We could really get into the 10 minutes of the whole Cesaro Sheamus thing in the first damn place, and how it made no sense after the best of 7, the whole big Foley shit, but they're the tag team champions now. And then, like I was talking about with Enzo and Big Cass, and like I said before, like, my original prediction was Enzo and Big Cass was gonna win the titles at Mania, but how between now and then, because you know it's like it's happened where storylines just immediately get brushed off and then things happen, is that if Enzo and Cass are going to be in the title picture, is how do you go ahead and finish this Enzo, Big Cass, Rusev nonsense, and let Enzo and Cass go back to being tag team wrestlers, and let Rusev go do whatever Rusev does, which is allegedly crush his wife or some weird shit like that. I don't know. It's like, you sit up here, you think about the rest of the division, and ain't really nobody else to note. And especially sad to say that when you have a division that has Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson in it, who have just been floundering since they got to the WWE. So it's just kind of like, well, okay. I have no idea what the makeup of the tag team division is going to be, but we've got a minute between now and WrestleMania, so anything can happen. So it should be interesting to see how the WWE story-wise is going to clean up this mess that they created of their tag team division once they figure out what it is they want to do with the New Day and what it is they want to do with Cesaro and Sheamus, and when it comes to the titles, and how the rest of the division figures into that. Sami Zayn survived 7 minutes and some odd seconds against Braun Strowman, because like 2 minutes down there, 3 was ate up by Mick Foley, and I'm just sitting up here like, this is a waste of Sami Zayn's time. Who really gives a monkey shit about Braun Strowman at this point? Because they've built them up to be a nothing nobody, and I ain't saying that Braun Strowman isn't talented in the ring or none of that. It's just that Braun Strowman, for whatever they trying to build him up to be, has had flashes in the pan of greatness. And it ain't even greatness that's even flashes in the pan of, my nice words is, you alright. Some you alright moments. If they really want to do something with Braun Strowman, then they need to do something with Braun Strowman. Let that be the beginning, middle, and end. So what they do with Sami Zayn next is anybody's guess. But I tell you one thing. Regardless of what the internet thinks, Sami Zayn ain't winning no damn Rumble. Sorry, that's not gonna happen. Not saying that, that giving Zayn that type of push wouldn't be great for his character. But just not right now. Maybe, maybe when they shake out, maybe in a couple of years when the storyline really needs somebody like Sami Zayn to get a run at the championship, maybe. But this year, nah. It's too many other people that could possibly win the Rumble, and I will leave my Goldberg Brock Lesnar talk for another day. Rollins beat Chris Jericho after Kevin Owens kind of sort of interfered, and this will flow later into our Universal Championship match, but it's just like, given, again, and we'll get into this later, given how Roadblock ended, is you really got to wonder what the hell they're going to do, because at some point, you've got to blow all this off, because Seth Rollins got to get a Triple H. Because that's the only Seth Rollins and Triple H at Mania. That is the match that has to happen, because that's just what's going to happen. So to figure out where the current set of things sits with Seth Rollins, Chris Jericho, KO, and Roman Reigns is, how the hell do you kind of solve all of this and then get Triple H in the mix? But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Rich Swann retained the title against Brian Kendrick and T.J. Perkins after a double super kick and then a super kick. Because I'm just like, we super kick Brian Kendrick, Rich Swann super kicks T.J. Perkins and wins, and I'm just like, that's a finish to a match. That is a finish to a match, and whatever the hell that is or is supposed to be. Charlotte beat Sasha again in the 30-minute Iron Man match, and it's like, this is just one of those things where I just question the end of the match. It's like the end of regulation, as Michael Cole put it, is, I don't know. Again, I don't know whether this is, no, actually that is what it is. It's more of WWE fetishizing records and numbers and shit, because Charlotte Flair this year has yet to lose on a pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? It's that Sasha always wins it on TV, and Charlotte always wins it at a pay-per-view. But allegedly, this is over now. Like how they said Sami Zayn would never wrestle Kevin Owens again over, that's probably, this is the over that we're going to get. But then that brings up the question of, who do you get Sasha to feud with? Because at some point, my assumption is you have to get Bayley to win it at Mania, because that's the thing that makes logical sense. Before the logical thing you think would do which would probably to bring up Asuka and Ember Moon from NXT at that point, but I really think Asuka would be a better fit on SmackDown than she would be on Raw. But there's got to be some magical way to solve all of this, because how do you keep somebody like Sasha out of the title picture for months? You know what I'm saying? How do you keep somebody like Sasha out the title picture for months? I'm like, they haven't built up Nia Jax enough to be a credible threat. And who else is in the women's division? Yes, I know there are women's in the women's division, but who else of name? It's like, what? Alicia Fox? Dana Brooke, who they haven't done anything with in quite a while. It's a strange thing when it comes to the women's championship on Raw, especially with Sasha not being in the title picture. But while you know what? Rewind it a little bit. I'm glad this is over, because as much as I have enjoyed watching the Boss and Charlotte do their thing, enough is enough. Enough is enough, and it's time for a change. And I don't believe I just did that. But the point stands, is that enough is enough. So, again, my question is that with the Raw's women division looking like it does, is you really don't have any credible threats, and you really can't keep putting Bayley up against Charlotte to keep losing, then to win it at Mania. So you have to fill that time between now and WrestleMania with something. But the question is, with not a lot of built-up talent to make it look legitimate, is that Bayley is the only person you can put up against Charlotte. So what they gonna do? They gonna start trading title reigns now? Because all Sasha and Charlotte have done is play hot potato with the damn title in the first place. So I don't know. We'll see. KO beat Roman Reigns because Chris Jericho hit him with a cold breaker, and then they gave each other a hug because that was all part of their master plan, which goes back into the Seth Rollins thing. And then during the match there was an I am a table moment. It was all over the place, and then both Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens got powerbombed through tables. So yay. Again, this is another magical question of what are you gonna do? That's what this is. This is another magical, mystical question of what do you do? Because at this point, the no-duh is gonna be is that. And so you would think that at some point you have to blow this off somehow and get a number one contender for KO, unless you finna put Roman Reigns in there with him again, when you know you need to get Seth Rollins to win the title so Triple H will pay his ass some damn attention so he'll have a reason to fight him in WrestleMania. So I do not and does not know what in the hell is going to happen from this point, because again, it makes zero sense then. It makes no sense now about how, and I mean this, it's like, how do you resolve this somehow? Because, again, and I'm going to say this, because everything is going to be put on pause for the Royal Rumble. Everything is on pause for the Royal Rumble. So, they're going to have to somehow settle this before the Elimination Chamber, because I think Elimination Chamber is Raw's pay-per-view this year. I think Elimination Chamber is Raw's pay-per-view this year. So, no, actually, it's the SmackDown pay-per-view. So Raw's getting Fastlane. Which kind of now makes sense because I'm up on Wikipedia because I just needed to double check my notes of trying to figure out what in the hell do you do with the Universal Championship? Because the magical assumption is Finn Balor comes back at the Rumble. That's something that's sensible, worthy, and makes sense. Brock nor Goldberg is going to win the Rumble. So where does that leave the title? Hell, what is the Royal Rumble? Because it's like, I asked this question a couple of months ago, and it's time, and I guess, before we get out of here, it's a question to bring up. Is how is the Royal Rumble going to work? Is it going to have that weird stipulation, the Chris Benoit clause, where someone can win the Royal Rumble and then challenge for the other title? I wonder if that was what it's going to be, because that would be interesting. But if my honest thoughts is probably Finn Balor is going to win because he technically never lost the title, but you got to find a way to get it back on him. So it's just that it's possibilities all over the place. Anything can happen. Is that my other possible thought was you get John Cena to win the Rumble again so that he can get the 16-time reign, because again, WWE's fetishism with numbers and shit. I don't know. So again, trying to shake all of this stuff out for the Universal title. Is that just to SmackDown a little bit? I don't know what they're gonna do over there. They not finna give James no chin's worth no damn title run, so don't even think about it. But Dolph Ziggler's the number one contender, and I'm just kind of like, what the fuck is that? You know what I'm saying? I'm not really sure what they're gonna do with Harley Quinn over there, with the Irish Siren over there, or whatever the hell they doing over there on SmackDown anyway, because nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on over there. No one knows. So, again, trying to figure out that because everything is going to be on pause for the next month is how do you solve this now, which would have normally been at the next pay-per-view, a fatal four-way. How do you solve this on Raw? Because I don't see a title changing hands on Raw and that necessarily before the Royal Rumble. That makes zero sense. I don't think this is going to be an instance that because you have two different brands with two different champions, they're not going to be defending their titles inside the Royal Rumble because that makes zero sense. They won't be defending their titles at the event either, but they usually, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends about, I don't know. It's too much confusion to really try to figure out multiple title pictures on two different television shows for scripted television. That's it. So, I'm going to let that be that. Roadblock, end of the line, was a cool pay-per-view. It was alright. But just trying to figure out, because they've ended a lot of storylines and then trying to hobble into others, trying to figure out how this is all going to shake out before we get to WrestleMania. Because that's what I do. Try to figure out what WrestleMania is going to be. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get out of here. You know what it is. The one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D. And I'd like to thank you for joining me for another installment of Triple the Guy Speak Song. And with that, I'll house you guys next time, man. Peace out.